Hello, now are you seeing me? I feel it's okay. Give me some claps if it's all good. Is the stream coming? Awesome, perfect. Yeah, it looks great. Perfect. So, wow, it's been great. This third session will be a more, I would say, intimate conversation. Get together, as you know, it is our event that we from Eventia decided to launch. It's for the first time us as an event company, we had the opportunity to do events. We have a very international audience. Our clients are all around. Our team is remote. It was very difficult to get everybody together. And this format of virtual event is what allows us to start creating our own events. And for Get Together, the summit, we partnered with Melting Lab. Melting Lab is an event in Barcelona that has been running for several years and that had great experience into bringing great content. So today we want to discuss openly with my co-organizers of the Get Together Summit from October about what we did, what we learned, what are the best practices. So can we bring Kevin and Lucas up on stage, please?
Here we are. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Mauricio. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Lucas, Kevin. I'm so happy to see you, and it's great to find you again. 2 months after our big event, that was a great success. How are you? Where are you joining us from today?
Lucas, first, you want to start?
Yeah. So right now I'm in Germany. So you can see it's pretty dark up here.
Yeah. And I'm still in Barcelona, but tomorrow going to France.
Perfect. Coming back to France. Great.
Yeah.
So we wanted to start this conversation with a question, and I'll ask you that first, but I want the audience as well to start preparing their answers. So let's go to the interactivity tab on the right of your screen. We're going to have a question. Let's launch it. It's coming. Are you looking forward to going back in-person events in 2021? You can say thumbs up or thumbs down. Let's collect the responses.
Let's see. I hope people are not saying yes. If not, our talk will not be that relevant. Oh. Okay.
100%. So I think everybody, we're talking about this Zoom fatigue. These virtual environments are definitely very powerful. Oh, you see, now we have some more results coming. 20% are not being ready.
43
Why
now.
so? Maybe 43. You see, this is now being battling between both. Okay, let's give it a couple of seconds. Perfect, great. So actually, we see that it's quite balanced. Not everybody is ready yet to go to back to the in-person events. My question for you guys is, you come from Melting Lab, which was a physical event. How do you see it in 2021? And are you planning to go back to an in-person event?
Oh, wow. Kevin, if you want to go ahead with this.
Yeah, actually, it's very interesting because Melting Lab was only physical event at the beginning, and we grew 10 edition by being only physical, and we had a great added value based on the networking part. So this is the side of the event that was very interesting for our attendees, and it was a challenge for us to move online for this side. But we see that also going to digital, it brings us a lot of new opportunities. I'm sure we will be able to discuss it during this conversation. And now we are talking about I think 2021 we will probably for sure do something online, but we are also talking about hybrid events to have like the full event online, but also a part who can be also physically in one city or several cities, depends of the audience, but it's something that we are talking about right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I can bounce on that the physical event that we come from and we're used to have 400 or 500 people presential with networking, a lot of interaction. It I don't see it going that way in 2021. First off, because of the current situation, but also due to that situation, I was listening to Will at the beginning of the event today, and he was saying about all the system that we have to put in place for security, sanitary resin. I don't think we will be ready to shift back to physical 100%. But as Kevin say, if we can mix and kind of blend the online experience with the physical experience, I think that will reach something really cool. So we'll see. And I mean, platforms like Eventia help us to kind of recreate that environment. So.
Okay, I understand. And I would say that a very important word here is incertitude, because we don't see very clearly where things are moving. And Will was saying something very interesting, is that it's not the event professionals who are going to say, let's go back to physical events. It's the doctors and the scientists who will tell us when the moment is right. So, and at the moment, we really don't know. We really don't know. So it's good that we prepare that we hope for the best, but that we prepare for the case that we still need to go for virtual.
And even more doctors. I mean, obviously we have to listen to like the legal and the sanitary advice and the doctors announcing if we can go back to physical or not. But I think even from the people, I mean, we all want to go back to physical. That's something we want, and that's something everyone would love to go back to events with large number of people. But even, for example, personally, I would like this, but I also don't see myself in a month going in a room with 500 people around me. I don't think we are also, as attendees, even ready to go back to that situation mentally. I mean,
and we saw that with the answers that we were getting from the audience. So we've opened the Q&A. Again, many of you are maybe wondering about doing your virtual events, and this is our experience because from the Eventia side, we work with event planners all days, but we are not event producers. So this was the very first time that we wore the shoes of our clients, of our users. And we went through all the process of creating an event and the content. So we want to share the experience. So feel free to ask your questions, and we'll be answering them as we go. Kevin and Lucas, would you tell us a little bit about what Melting Lab is and what it was before we went into this virtual format?
Yeah, so it's an event that we launched in Barcelona in 2017. It was actually at the beginning networking, very based on digital marketing, entrepreneurship, etc. And we had a very rapid growth. And this event, like from the first edition, was about 50 people, and we finished the 10th edition before the COVID, actually, with almost 500 attendees. And not only networking, we were also doing talks, roundtables. We had also sponsors, exhibitors, etc. So it was still human size event, but with much more attendees than in the beginning. And the main idea of Melting Lab was to give a lot of education to the local ecosystem in Barcelona with local experts, but also speakers coming from all over Europe. And it was actually, for a physical event, it was actually a lot of logistics. That's why I was talking about opportunities in your first question, because like digital also opened a lot of new ways to organize. But yeah, Melting Lab was about that. And so in 3 years, we organized the 10th edition, and we gathered together with all the edition more than 3,000 people. So it was very interesting locally. And now we see that with the online event, we were moving much more to a more European audience for that year.
Yeah, to come back to it, just adding some things to it. For example, for me, I joined Melting Lab in 2019. And yeah, we've seen the rapid growth of the physical event with a local audience, but speakers from all over Europe. And when we reached that 10th edition, which was actually right before COVID started, or at least got kind of in the air. We were seeing our event growing, and when COVID came, it was very uncertain because we were on a very good curve, let's say, and really a growing brand, which gave us a lot of, I would say, anxiety even on like what is the future of our brand that we grew in the last 3 years, where is it going? And we had to adapt pretty fast and think quite fast also and quickly about how not to just let it go,
And so how did you approach, because COVID started hitting hardly in Europe towards March, April. So what was your reaction, and actually how did you really turn into saying like we need to go virtual?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna let Kevin continue after I just add my comment on that. And so the situation happened. We were planning, starting to think about our next edition. Actually, not even planning it yet. But we were the main focus of Melting and the idea when it was created, and the main focus and the main thematic that we always wanted to bring in the event is the engagement part and kind of this community feeling of events where it's not only a speaker on stage and an audience sitting, and just a message being spread on a one way, but the networking part, as Kevin mentioned before, which was the base and the core of the event from the beginning. So the huge doubt was, what are we doing? Are we going to do an event? Are we going to continue? And if so, how are we doing it? And how are we bringing that same experience to the virtual and the online, which we had basically no idea about? We are event maker, physical event maker, not virtual event maker. So it was a big question mark for us.
Yeah, and actually it was a good thing that we after 2019 we decided to make the event in the second part of the year, so it was also like a good thing for us because now after the 9th edition, I think, or even the 8th, we started to organize the event 6 months in advance. So if we will organize the event in April, like in the past years, we will be able to do nothing, or like just to switch in the last minute in digital. But it's definitely something that the attendees also sometimes they don't sign for that. So you need to adapt also the communication, and you need to also to reach a new audience, new target, and also the difficulties I think I would say in October, during the first lockdown, we saw a lot of events going online, etc. And we also saw that in September, October, the people, they were a little bit tired of all these online events, etc. So we needed to differentiate ourselves a lot to be able to bring all these attendees during these events, and to make like a very big difference with all the other digital marketing events or summit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I think the get together kind of like just the spark, let's say, of get together started, because as I said, we are event maker, we organize event. We were used to do that, and we basically reached that point of like, okay, we know how to organize event, but we have no idea about the technological and the technical part of it, on how to do it virtual. And that's when Eventia came in the picture, and I think I can let you both explain, or at least you, Mauricio, how it came from your side also.
Yeah, well, indeed. So we lived the crisis from the point of the technology provider, and we saw our clients canceling events. But at the same time, because we are a technology provider, everybody was asking us, what are we going to do? And it was kind of obvious that if we cannot go physically, then we have to go virtual. So we started working on this, and that's why I said now for us is the opportunity to create an event, because we've even, well, for those who don't know, Kevin was one of our first collaborators in Eventia and our first business developer in France. So we've worked together for a long time, and since I think like 5 or 6 years ago, we were already thinking we should do events. But it's hard because Eventia's crowd is extremely distributed. And I said, I want to do an event, but we are technology provider, and we are not content creators or even creators. We are not even makers, and it was very hard for us to really come up with how do we build an event. And it's crazy because we do that every day, but it was a very complex situation. How do you get speakers, and how do you bring sponsors? How do you we know how to build a website and how to send the communications, but how do you really promote an event? And that's where well, we found each other, and we say this is a match because there's something to be built together. And we decided to join those forces, and we leveraged on the, I would say, the best skills of each party to create this get together experience. And I think that's the genesis of the project. And it's, again, you say virtual, there's less logistics, but there's still a lot of work.
I wouldn't say it's less logistic. I would say it's a different logistic. During physical events, we have to make sure we have our roll-up in place, and the microphone is well connected, and the tables are well prepared. And so, like, everything technical and physical. On an online event, we also, for us, you were saying, like, you didn't know how to find speakers, and you didn't know how to find sponsors. For us, it was, we didn't know how to connect that live streaming with a platform and how we would be able to interact with the attendees. And that was a complete, like, no idea word for us.
Yeah, and the interesting point with that is, I think the feeling that we had back to 2015, 2016, when, and not only for us, but also a lot of brands who wanted to organize events, who were thinking that it was super complicated to organize because it needed to be physical. Now we saw that with the COVID crisis, a lot of tools, a lot of opportunities to organize streaming and event online, etc. And I think a lot of brands who wanted to organize events for their communication, for their marketing, now they feel that they can do it easier thanks to this technological tool, versus before where they wanted to only thinking about physical event, and it's like actually a little bit harder to organize something like from scratch. So it gives also a lot of opportunities for a lot of brands who can now put event management into their marketing or communication strategy.
Perfect. So I wanted I was in the conversation before. Vincent was asking me, what are your tips for engagement as from Eventia side? And I think that also ties up into many good practices that we implemented together into the program of Get Together, because it's not only about interactivity. There are many things to have into consideration. We're saying that the attention span has reduced a lot in the last 20 years, but the virtual attention span is half your attention span on a physical matter. So it's very challenging. So of course we build this together, but my question would be, what considerations did you have into building the event program to create engagement and not to fatigue everybody, knowing that this was a full day event, starting early in the morning and going until 8 p.m.
Yeah. To start with this, I mean, you're right when you say that the attention span is just decreased insanely, and we see it like during our physical events. We usually had talks of about an hour, 15 minutes. I mean, very long talk, but between those talks, we could make a 1 hour and a half break and just have people in the same room with some coffee and just talking and they wouldn't even look at their watch, they would be like talking there for hours. So that was not a big issue for us on the physical. But when we go virtual then, and when we started working on the program for the event between Eventia and Meltin, we also found out that an hour and a half talk is not suitable for the online format. We would have lost 90% of the audience. And also between each talk, we couldn't put a 3-hour networking session because people would just leave. There was no, they didn't have someone in front to talk to. There was not a room crowded around with people. So we also had to adapt the format and the times of each individual session to make sure to lose, not to lose the audience, because obviously we're still learning and everyone is still learning how to do that, but how to lose the least amount of the audience and not arrive at 7 in the evening at the event and have 10 people active when you had 300 in the morning, for example. But about the program, I think Kevin worked way more than myself on that with you, Mauricio. So I'm going to let him explain a bit more about the logistics of that.
Yeah, I would say like a very important point to keep people active and the engagement is it's also the diversification of the program. So the idea is to not put like 10 round tables one after one, but what we did with the get together in October, we put like one or two round tables. We had after that some entertainment, some networking extra, and everything was maximum 2 hours. And I think it's helping people to also to change the mind during the event, because of course when you go to a trade show or to a physical event, you don't go only to the conference and talk rooms. You also go to networking. You also go to drink, to eat something, etc. And so the idea is to also to give the opportunity to people to change a little bit the mind during the day. And we had actually some entertainment time with sport, with magical show, etc. So it's something that is changing from the education part of the roundtables and something a little bit more entertaining. And I think it's helping a lot to rest the energy. And also, I would say like one also important thing is to start with maybe a session with a lot of energy. So to have a speaker very active, very dynamic, in order to help to start the event and then to promote a good energy for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and I think that's how we got also very lucky to match with Eventia on that specific matter, because we could have done the event on Zoom, and just talk in front of a camera for 8 hours straight. I don't think we would have gotten the same result as the sessions we had on the platform with all the tools you had on the install the sessions plus the tools, the combination of technology and actual experiences. And like the mixing of an experience with technology, I think that was also one of the main key points to keep the attention from all the viewers and everyone that attended the event, actually.
Yes, and I think this is also very related to the fact that today people relate a lot online events with webinars, but actually webinars, I always say that is the 0 degree of the online event. It's very passive, receptive. So what we wanted with Get Together to propose, it's a format that is not only bringing a single content, but is an articulation of knowledge, entertainment, and interactions. And
I think we had a good quote. Sorry to interrupt on that, but I think when we actually had calls together and on the discussions we had when we prepared the event and all those things, I think the really good quote that would explain what you just said is that we came up with, we don't want to be an online event, but we want to be a physical event online, which I think kind of summarized the whole thing.
Yes, and that's why we created many partnerships. We partnered with a meditation application, and we created a meditation room. As Kevin was saying, we invited an Instagram influencer, vegan influencer, to make a stretching session in the morning. We created dance classes in the afternoon, and we even, at that event, we also had a magician who was also quite surprising. So it was great to have that mix, and I think that's part of what helped us. Vincent was talking about how do you need to restart the attention over and over, and that's why we mix in knowledge with entertainment and networking. And that's an important part, the networking, because we have to remember that meeting people face to face, it's really the number one reason people go to events. People love content, but the connections is really the number one reason. And that is what is missing mostly in I would say Zoom meetings and events, because it's not meant to generate these probably serendipitous or organized connections between people. And that's what we also wanted to bring with Get Together. So allowing everybody to enjoy a great speaker, but then having a dance class, but also then having different meetings and having calls with people face to face.
And also having pauses. I think that's something really important. I think during the event is not only just throwing content, experiences, content all the time, because it's still an 8 hours event. And even if people are in front of their computer, they also need to get out of that space and just, breathe. So those networking times were also really good just for people, to close their laptop, just have a break of 10, 15 minutes, go back to it, talk to people, go leave, have some space for your mind, because receiving information for 8 hours, we all know it's really complicated, and you just at one moment switch off, and they wouldn't have enjoyed the event as much if they were only focusing on their screen the whole day, basically.
Yeah, and there's actually, based on the networking part, there's actually something important for any kind of event. For example, when you are invited to an event, we have this quote saying that if you say no, you're never gonna know what you miss. And what you can miss is not really the content, because the content in general, you can get it back later. You can see replays, etc. But the networking side and the people during this event online or during the physical event, it's something that you can miss and you can lost. So that's why also it's like it's important to have a good quality content with good speakers, good I would say talks. But the quality of the audience is also very important to keep also engaging people and event after event, edition after edition, to be able to get even more attendees. So, for example, there is an event for startups and for technology and innovation that is very famous, the Web Summit. You go to the Web Summit mostly to meet people and to make meetings, less for the content. So it's something also that is very important to take into account.
Yeah, and I think a big key thing to keep in mind also when organizing online events, and now we know it from the experience, but when you organize an event, you organize it for an audience, for a specific target and like a persona, let's say. But when I think most brands tend to be like, oh, we are doing an online event so we can talk to many people. Yes, but that doesn't mean that you can talk to everyone either. And that comes back to the audience part that you were saying, Kevin. Like, it's not because you do it online that you should invite everybody and talk to everybody. At the end of the day, you want your attendees to be the people fitting to your event. You want your attendees to be relevant for other attendees. And I think you want your attendees to be as relevant for your event as your speakers are. And I think that's a key fact that most brands tend to forget when doing digital event or webinars or digital efforts in general, which I think is a key thing to keep in mind.
And that's also how you can monetize the event. Like, depends what is your strategy, but like with a good quality of the audience, it's like the key point for monetizing the event, for like ticketing later or even like getting sponsors. They are looking for and they are asking first for the audience and all the statistics and metrics for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 10 minutes left, and I'd like us to discuss for a moment about what are the main, I would say, advantages of moving to virtual. And for you guys who used to run a physical event, now moving into virtual, what were the big difference that you say, wow, that was really nice? And probably the counter question, what did you lose from moving and not doing physical?
Okay, I'm going to start on this. And I think the main big thing for me is global. I'm just impressed with, for example, our event. Coming from the physical, I would never have imagined us going that way. But we had in the morning a speaker speaking from his room in France. After that, we had vegan influencers doing their living room in Germany. We had a lot of people in Spain. And then we had a magician in Puerto Rico, and then we had someone talking to us from Kiev in Ukraine, Valley in the US. I think it's the main point for the ability.
Lucas, together. I think you're having
we are losing
space.
Yeah. And so just because I'm taking over, Lucas, you're having some technical issues, and this is always happening in these virtual events. It can be complicated, and I want to share
an
anecdote. I think you're getting back. So you were going through a tunnel, but as a reminder, we practiced for about 3 months our show with Daniel Fernandez, our magician, and he was doing his show, and at a moment everything froze, and he disappeared as a magician. He just disappeared, and everybody was like, "But isn't he going to finish? Is this part of the show?" And no, he had a power outage.
Outage, yeah.
And his internet, and he was out, and we lost him. So it's always, yeah, it's life. But in virtual events, connectivity, internet issues, sound issues, we experience those, and it's part of the learning of how you back up your plan. And yeah, you have to deal with this kind of things and try to make them as better. But it's very difficult to control when you have speakers all around the world connecting, that everybody has the right speed connection and has no issues.
Yeah, and I think what Luca was trying to develop is the idea of going international first for the speakers, because indeed for the Melting Lab in Barcelona, sometimes at the beginning we had like only local speakers, but edition after edition we were like inviting some speakers coming from Paris, from London, from Berlin, and we had to manage the travel, the accommodation, etc. With a digital event, it's something that there is no problem, there is nothing to manage, because as Luca said, we had like speakers in Latin America, in North America, all over Europe. So it's something definitely would gives a lot of opportunities in terms of getting speakers, new speakers, and also in terms of audience, because before we had an audience mainly based in Spain, mainly in Barcelona, but now with the last get together that we did in October, we had, I think, people from 30 different nationalities, 30 different countries. So it was also very interesting for us to see that our brand Melting Lab can be not only in Barcelona, but maybe more on a European scale, even in a global scale. And it's also bringing a lot of new opportunities in terms of sponsors, in terms of collaboration. And that is, I think, for me, it's like the main opportunity that going from physical to online. And once again, after that, it doesn't mean that we need to stop the physical event, but maybe instead of having like only one physical event in Barcelona, maybe this online edition that we made in October now allows us to make other physical events in.
Perfect. I want to add some questions here from the stream. So we see here, what was the biggest challenge organizing an event between two teams?
It's very funny. I don't know if you can hear me now, if my internet is back on track.
We can hear you.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Not only because we are two different entities, so two different brands joining the same effort. So I didn't know anyone from your team, Mauricio, before starting this organization, and a part of that is that we were not also physically in the same room. We were having calls and meetings, but all from where we were working from. And the interesting part of it is also how we adapted and how we managed to bring the best out of each other. So if someone was taking the lead on something, like your team had a great ideas on some technicals, on some marketing, on lots of different topics, and our team also. So it was kind of very interesting, I think, to bring your point of view to our kind of event. And we've been doing this for years, so we had our event as a little box that was not really evolving, that was like this and just applied every year after year, the same event. And bringing your team into that event, we kind of destroyed that box. And I can tell you already now, when I'm thinking event for next year, for example, I already have so many more ideas on what we could do thanks to the collaboration we had. So I think it's was a really good win-win for both teams, I think.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's really something that we can get in any companies. For example, take the example of startups. We have always the IT and development department, and we have the marketing, sales, and both coming from different universe, and they need to talk with each other. And sometimes it's like complicated. Sometimes it's like just need to clarify very well what is the point of responsibility for each one, and I think everything goes well. Yeah.
Perfect. So
what about
yeah.
you, Mauricio? From your side, how was it?
No, it was great. It was complimentary, and as I told you guys, we couldn't have done it without you. Building an event is actually a really big endeavor. It's very stressing. It's a lot of adrenaline, especially when time is coming, and there are always details to fix. And you brought to Eventia a lot about how to structure a program, how to target our speakers, because you were very picky about who can come and who can't, who makes sense and who doesn't. And I think it really raised the quality of the whole experience. So it was a great dialogue, and I think that we found our moments where we didn't feel at the beginning, what are they doing, and is it going to match? But actually, I feel that at a moment we found a very
yeah. I think it took time also for us to like, what is it going to be? To find like the kind of like imagine how is it going to be?
How is it going to be? Because it was very, very abstract, and of course, as with any project, as time goes, deadlines start, getting close, and pressure always is a trigger for productivity. So as it moved on, I think that all the pieces of the puzzle clicked, and that's what allowed us to launch this great event. And I would say it's certainly the first one of more editions to come, and I'll be glad to be doing that with you together. So. Our time is soon going to be off, so I just want to say thank you to everybody who was with us here today. And our main subject today was what is expected in events for 2021. I just can tell you that you can expect more get-togethers, because we'll keep doing it. So thanks to our sponsors, to all our speakers, and of course, I wish you all a very merry, very happy Christmas and a happy New Year. See you soon.
And thank you, Mauricio, for everything also today.
Waiting.
It's our pleasure.
You listen this talk.
Bye.
Bye-bye.